Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Corey LeBlanc, Ceremonial Witch. My bad for this terrible audio video-ness. This is my fucking bedroom. I got my two little girls in the bath right now. My oldest one's in there playing with food coloring. Not dye, but food coloring. It's probably not necessarily great for the body. But I keep adding, taking out the water, putting different salts in there, neutralize it. I even have some baking soda and some vinegar in there, which was kind of cool. I mean, a nice little explosion. That explosion actually is a type of alkaline electricity, so to speak. And it's kind of the process that your body does internally that that actually creates electricity inside your body. If you a long time ago, but like not near the beginning of my episode, somewhere in the middle of my episodes, closer to the beginning though, there is videos in there about Jerry Tennant. Talks about alkaline and its role in the body and curing everything from cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, all that stuff. Because your cells in your body run on electricity basically. So if your cells in your body are regenerating basically because they start, they're born basically, so to speak, your cells, and then some of those cells are for different tasks, whether that's creating organs, from your skin to your heart to your spleen to your kidneys to your tonsils. Everything is made up from cells. And there are some cells that are just, it's very complex. So it's hard to just give a generic, simple picture, especially because, I didn't do any actual study, like in any kind of school or anything, for any of this stuff. I'm going by what I'm learning online myself. And I think I have a great perception and I think I understand it well, but once again, this is just stuff online that I'm learning. And just like the textbooks in the school, I mean, arguments have been made that our history is wrong. So anything you learn in school and get a degree for it can technically be based on wrong. But then the alternative is what? You're facing, okay, you're going to say, well, the stuff you're learning in school is wrong, but it's versus the stuff you're learning online where, all these sources are just basically the same in the end. Yeah, you can go back so far and it's going to be someone's either opinion or someone's firsthand knowledge. And if no one was there to understand the firsthand knowledge, then how is that different from an opinion if you have no way to validate it? So that all push aside what I just said, assuming that Jerry Tennant is a doctor, went to school, and when he suffered his own disease where he can only think 1 or 2 hours a day clearly, and he had to find out what was wrong with him in those 1 to 2 hours a day, and when he decided to look into pH because he realized, well, your cells run. He knew there was something wrong with him, and he knew if he could work up from the smallest level of our anatomy, of our biology, slash chemistry, I guess, but not really chemistry. Physics is actually the first, and then physics comes before everything else. And so what he came up with was the fact that the cells that have to regenerate, the cells that are basically, because cells are going to be created, if these cells are not creating organs, and if these cells aren't doing anything good, basically, then that's how disease happens. So if he could fix his cells, then, and I guess, roughly speaking, to use a Jordan Peterson term, he could fix his disease. And so he did. Not that simple, and that's why I always promote putting Himalayan sea salt in your water / juice. If you do that, you're adding electricity in your body. So to make this long story short, by putting that stuff in the water, and once again, I've said this many times, you absorb way more water in a bath than you do by drinking water. But if you're drinking water and you put minerals in it, such as Himalayan sea salt has 82 minerals in it. However, if you're able just to, I was gonna say you don't like the taste of salt and water, which I don't blame you. You probably don't. I do. I got used to it, and I've always liked salt all my life. Very much addicted to salt. And I'll talk about the salt, the iodized salt. Although iodine is very good for you, some European countries, the governments actually handed out iodine pills to the cities, to the masses, to the people because of Wi-Fi, because of radiation and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if these are places close to where nuclear bombs went off and all that, and that's radiation they're talking about. And it's been misconstrued as Wi-Fi radiation. But either way, I think it's pretty cool that there is a government out there doing that. Likewise, these same governments that hand out iodine pills to help battle cancers from radiation, basically, because especially here in Canada, we don't pay for our health care. Therefore, if everybody's dying of cancer or any disease, then that's going to take a toll on, our debt, on our money, basically, because someone has to pay these fucking doctors and someone has to pay for this medicine. And if everything is paid for by the government, well, then the government is paying for it. So the more sick people you have, the more, more money the government has to spend. Probably a reason why they also legalized marijuana here in Canada. I don't necessarily think that marijuana saves people, although I can make that point too, because I've done research on that as well. Being that we have a cannabinoid system in our body, it's actually called that in cannabis, cannabinoid. So by smoking cannabis, people used to be illegal. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is just that electricity I put in that bathtub with those two little girls is actually good for them. Vinegar is not unhealthy for the body. It's actually a healthy acid. That's why drinking a little bit of apple cider vinegar a day will actually help you, and that's the vinegar I put in there. It's apple cider vinegar, so it's not as intense as just regular vinegar. It is an acid, but it's not like a sulfuric acid or something like that. But yeah, when you put that in there, the base, and that's basically what your body's doing. When you drink something, especially something like pop, that mixes your body, it confuses your body when you drink pop, and it doesn't produce that, because it's acidic, but it's also like a base. So anyways, the formula from pop going in your body, basically, your body doesn't do the other part. If you put something very acidic in your body, then your body's going to kind of try to add a base to that to even it out. And likewise, if there's something very base coming into your body, there's an acidic process. And that's why our food, most of our food, unless it's spicy food, is very, can be, once you chew it up and everything cuts together, it's very much a base. And the exception would be for like adding spices and stuff like that, which spices are very healthy for you. But we have acid in our body that helps break down that food as well in our system. But there is a process that happens, and it's mainly with liquids, as far as I know, that it creates, it does that. That reaction of baking soda and the vinegar is very similar to a reaction that happens in your body. Once again, this is all information I picked up from different doctors that are kind of on a spiritual slash, not motivational speaking, but a self-help kind of journey now, and trying to give out information that they can't or couldn't give out when they were an actual practicing doctor. So by that process happening in your body, that creates electricity, and then that gets distributed to, according to Jerry Tennant, you have like battery packs in your body, okay? So if there's a specific part of your body where the cells aren't healthy and you have a disease in that specific part of the body, well then you got to check the cell growth. You got to find out, and he's got various things to do. He's got tuning forks that will essentially tell you exactly where the problem is, and then from there where the corresponding battery pack is, and then from there if there's another problem as well. He also, he actually is not a spokesperson, but he does promote, and he does make money off of this company, and he's very open and upfront about that, which I like. But there's a company, and it's basically, it's like seaweed, or like algae. Anyways, basically your spirulina, that green shit there, or one of those things. Anyways, a lot of these health food things that have lots of antioxidants and different healthy things for you that help you live forever. Well, spirulina is one of those superfoods. There's multiple things, kind of like chia seeds. But spirulina is the kind that is like made from algae, from water. And there's some very, very powerful stuff found in water. It is one of the elements. Everything we eat, human-wise, whether it's the animals or it's the plants, it needs water, it needs earth, it needs the air, and it needs fire, which I don't know how you want to classify that, if it's the sun or not, because technically the sun would be air, but then there's also oxygen as well. So I don't want to get into that. I have opinions, but once again, it's a very untidy perception, so I won't talk about that. But one of those two, can be considered the fire. One of those two, and fire is also like action and all that of them growing, whatever, blah 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 blah. But stuff that's in the water has less oxygenation, and it's more concentrated probably when it comes to things. So anyways, there's just some power in that kind of stuff. So before anybody gets all upset and thinks I'm doing something bad to my daughters with all that, well, I'll just understand that I've done a lot of research on this, and I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying, according to my research, I'm right. Oh man, fuck. But anyways, I was supposed to go on Spreaker a few times ago and make a fucking video. Make a fucking episode finishing off what I wanted to talk about, and I dropped the signal, I want to say like 4 or 5 nights ago, and I never got around to it. So I think I might just say what I have to say on here, and then make the episode after, because then I can just say what I wanted to say now and then elaborate later. And I wrote a couple points down, and basically I was just going to let my intuition and my rambling kind of happen and go forth. And I play a lot of Jordan Peterson on here, and Jordan Peterson breaks down the Bible a lot. Jordan Peterson is a very intelligent person, I think. Is he perfect? Hell no. Am I going to adopt all his beliefs? Hell no. But it serves a purpose listening to him, because he's got a lot of very good ideas. And I mean, everything that he says to a fundamental level, I don't even know. That's not what I meant to say with fundamental level. But anyways, on some kind of a level, and that could be just me, because I can watch kids shows and think there's occult knowledge in there. And I think at a certain point, you just get to a certain point where you can make anything sound or look like occult knowledge and relate it to it. That's maybe just where I'm at. But anybody who talks about Jordan Peterson and doesn't think he's a practicing occultist or anything like that, they're probably right. I don't think he is. I think he might do some things that he doesn't believe is occultish. Who am I to say what he believes in? I don't know what he believes in, and I don't care what he believes in. I'm happy what he's doing, and I think it's very important what he's doing as a job. So I'll leave that at that. But his stuff that he talks about he talks about the Egyptian gods, and then he's relating to the Bible, and then he talks about so many things, and to me it's all occult knowledge. It's all things you need to go. I mean, when he talks about your personality, your persona, that's like your first house in astrology, where your sun is who you're going to show the world you are, but that's not really. And your descendant is actually more likely to be what you feel like. Not necessarily who you are either, but how you feel. What is more closer to probably the real you. And when it's really, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but you're basically a mix between those two things. It'd be like your positive and negative, your conscious, your subconscious. And that's kind of another correlation with that. So he talks about that. He talks about shadow work and all that. He talks about Jung being the shadow side is closer to the real you. And when you incorporate your shadow with your persona, then that's closer to being you. And to me, that's what I try to do with astrology. That's what I try to learn with astrology. But anyways, I'm pushing that aside. I was going to talk about the Psalms, right? The Psalms. That's in the Bible, right? Psalms. And as a child, I always saw the world's Psalms. And, they're going to sing the Psalms. We're going to talk about the Psalms, blah, 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 blah. Whenever we stayed up and passage from the Psalms, or when we're sitting down, someone goes up there, or whatever the case is. And I was always infatuated with that word. And I always asking my mom and everybody around me, like, who wrote the Psalms? What's the Psalms? And maybe they didn't know, and maybe they didn't want to say it. I don't really know. Maybe it's because there's negative connotations about it now, which is kind of sometimes hard to find. And there are things about King Solomon that aren't positive, but I think for the majority of the stuff you find out there about Psalms and Solomon is pretty good. I mean, maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. I don't know. I'm very specific in some of my searches, but that's where the Psalms come from. The Psalms come from King Solomon. He wrote the Psalms. That's who wrote them. So anybody who's practicing ceremonial magic and potentially even witchcraft, they say that the Bible, they don't believe in the Bible and this and that. Well, witchcraft might be more of a stretch, but for ceremonial magic, I mean, a lot of this shit comes from King Solomon. It not necessarily comes from where like he invented it, but like all the sigils that he made for the demons, those were some, like, as far as I know, maybe some of the first sigils on a mass scale. But to the world, now we do know, like in really ancient places, they had sigils and carvings on the wall, but not many people knew about this unless you were near the area, because, don't forget that there was no cell phones or telephones or anything like that. At one point there wasn't even mail. So even if they had a mail system in the very beginning, to send a letter to a different country to tell them that, hey, there's sigils on this wall, I just don't think happened. Therefore, unless you had those where you lived and knew them, I mean, there's a good chance that the sigils and stuff that you learned about that came from King Solomon. The Goetia, talking about the 72 demons, the Lesser Key of Solomon, all that stuff. If you deal any witchcraft that has to deal with these demons, and these demons, even if it's the Enochian stuff, I mean, technically, it's all coming from there. Enochian was, derived in some way from these, for using the angelic forces to control the demonic forces. So to just because the Bible is been corrupted, and it is corrupt, and I'm never going to say that it isn't. But to just tear apart the whole book and not use it whatsoever, because of that, is just silly. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It would be like to listen to Jordan Peterson about the shadow self, completely agree with it, and then he starts talking about the transgender stuff that he did and being mean to people, and because of that, and because you think he's doing it because he's a transphobe or whatever the case is, maybe you got friends, or maybe you are, I don't know what it is, and then everything he said that you learned from Carl Jung, you just kind of throw away and say it's got to be bullshit because I don't like this. Well, that'd be the same thing as not using the Bible for magic. And I'm not saying that the Bible is right. I'm not saying that we should believe in the Bible. I'm just saying that the fact that King Solomon made the Psalms that are in the Bible, they probably twisted it to fix their own thing, but you can see through it, and that's the thing I like. When you add esoteric knowledge to the Bible, you find the true intention of things, even if they change things around. And for the most part, we have a good idea of the things that they changed around. There are still some really bad things in there for witches and magicians to this day that are still in there. So that kind of sucks. And, maybe that was the intention. Maybe they directly put stuff in the Bible like that to get people to not like it, who were into magic. Because, if you add magic in all your magical books and you use the Bible as well on top of it, you can be a very powerful magician or witch. And if you don't, well, then you're not going to have the full ranges. I mean, that book is a tool. A book is, as Jordan Peterson said, a library, because it's all separate books inside one big book. Therefore, you can't just take a couple of those books that have been corrupted and throw all the rest of the books out. That'd be like going to the library and seeing Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, My Struggle, basically. But that's this book he wrote when he was in jail, basically before World War II, I want to say. And I read most of it. Not the whole thing, but I read most of it. And that'd be like saying, I'm not going to read any book from this library because it's got that, which some people do. Some people do that, that Chick-fil-A thing I put on here. After Xavier talks about how the owner of Chick-fil-A said the sanctity of marriage should be between a man and a woman, and pissed off the gay community who didn't want to go buy any. And then the Christian the Christian community, I guess, said, yeah, well, if they're not going to do it, we support you for saying that statement, and more than that, we're going to actually financially support you and go in there and buy a record number of Chick-fil-A so to show the gay community we're on top. And that could have been all bullshit, to be honest, but that's what happened, and it's the same concept, right? This person says something wrong, so they might have great food and it might be healthy for you, probably not, but just because he said one sentence, he's not going to go in there, even though the people that are working there, they need you to go in there to provide for their kids or whatever. It's just a way of thinking. I'm not saying go to Chick-fil-A and eat that shit to support the people that work there. Fuck no, don't do that. They're working there, they're bad if they're going to work in somewhere where it's going to do more harm than good to keep that place open. And I'm not saying that that's the case or not. I'm just throwing shit out there. But what I am trying to say is, that's the whole throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And if you incorporate the Bible into your magic, you're going to be a better magician or witch or whatever you might be practicing. Maybe you're just New Age. Maybe you're just someone who likes to do yoga and start concentrating on breath and getting fucking intuition kicking in, so you're meditating. And that's cool. Do that. Do it smart. Maybe pick up a couple beginner books of magic that just teach you the basics about making circles and a couple protection amulets and all that. And once again, you can make the argument that says, well, once you open the doors, once you feel the need to create a protection amulet, you are opening up in your mind the potential for danger. And if you were to never open up that potential for danger, then you'll never be in danger. And I don't believe in that. I do to a certain extent, because the whole, well, you can't be hypnotized unless you believe in hypnosis. And yes and no, because people are getting hypnotized all the time by the TV. People are doing magic all the time against their will that they don't want to do, by cursing themselves and watching TVs and creating fake scenarios in their head through the TV. Like I said, Grey's Anatomy, if you're watching that, well, three or maybe every episode, probably every episode, you're going to see something about someone dying of cancer. And it's just going to make those stats that they throw out there in the world reaffirmed in your head that cancer is that real and that more of us are going to get it. And this argument I'm presenting, to throw down the other argument, is also making a new argument, because the fact that they tell you cancer can kill you is now opening up the opportunity for cancer to kill you. So it's the same concept. So this is one of those chicken and the egg things. It's a circle, and to break that cycle, you kind of have to do both. You got to protect yourself from it, and then you got to stop giving it power, and then eventually you won't need your protection anymore. So that's how I would answer that question if I was asked. Do you believe in a protection amulet can actually bring you the thing it's supposed to protect you from? Well, if you're protected from it, then you got nothing to worry about, right? So it's if you start looking up demonic evocation and start doing it and not knowing how to protect yourself, then yeah, then I think that statement is completely real. I think the fact that you started doing something that you didn't really know about, and you open up the idea like, okay, I'm going to be summoning demons, shit. And yeah, I don't think you could summon demons until you actually summon demons. You know what I mean? I don't think there's going to be demons around you all the time. However, I think there are exceptions to the rule. I think that people are not just going to be subjugated and affected by demons just random willy-nilly unless they are doing something or someone else has superimposed one on them, or they're somewhere, that like the King Tut thing, the sarcophagus, whatever, however you say that word, basically, where the mummies lay and all that, was apparently cursed and all that, and whoever laid on it. But technically, we know, or at least there's been some things written, I don't know if it was on walls or parchment or wherever. This is something I'm just throwing out there, and I'm not saying I believe in it or even if it's true, but from what I gathered from that, there was an egregore or servitor or thought form created to scare people away. I mean, if you knew someone was going to die, or when someone died, if you had this information, level of knowledge, if you knew how to make servitors and stuff like that, why would you not do that? Especially if you're stashing gold and shit in there. A lot of these old Egyptians and things like that. Fuck, I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry. Some of these old, wherever they kept their dead, which we know is not the pyramids now, or at least we're told. But wherever they kept their dead sarcophaguses, they would put gold with them and stuff like that, and it was all stuff for the afterlife. Now, once again, I've given gold to spirits on my altar as well, but the way I give gold is I put the gold on there, and I tell them they can have whatever they need out of it, which is basically the essence of it. They don't actually need the gold, but it's what the gold represents. It represents the sacrifice from me. And if I get some kind of knowledge, vision, or dream that I need to take that gold and chuck it in a fucking river or ocean or bury it or try to set it on fire, which means I have to get a torch that goes above what regular fire in my torch can do. But I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to give it to one of the elements and tell the element that it needs to get to this person because that's who told me to do it in the dream. So, but that's how you do it. So when you're giving stuff, food, they don't actually come down and eat the food. They don't actually come drink the drink. But that's the reason they like alcohol. Alcohol is called spirits after all, right? Like hard alcohol, it's called spirits, right? So you can go believing all the stuff on there saying whenever you drink spirits, then a spirit takes over your body. And I'm sure there's definitely, and I could totally make that case as well. But they take the essence out of it, whatever that essence is. And maybe it could even be said that, if when you give that to them, they go in there and then you can drink it. But I don't drink the alcohol I offer them. I take it and once again, I put it on the ground. So when it comes to the gold and stuff like that I've left Mammon, whenever I did my stuff for Mammon, that was one of the things. I took my gold chain off my neck and I left it on my altar for a couple of weeks. And then when I got the 10 grand, I put the necklace back on. Now, I gave away that necklace because I had such a dream telling me I needed to do something with it, basically. So I did exactly what happened in the dream with it, and it's now gone. You'll never see that gold necklace on me anymore because I gave it up. And that might be the reason why. Maybe because I offered it to a spirit. It actually had to be a sacrifice, and I wasn't able to have it anymore. I wasn't able to use it anymore, Wow, I'm way off topic. I was talking about Solomon. The Lord of the Rings, right? Saruman. It's not Solomon, but Saruman, I want to say. And I'm pretty sure that's the big bad guy's name. However, one of Gandalf's buddy wizards that ended up betraying him or whatever had a similar name. And I can't remember what it was. But so the two bad guys in there that were made evil, their name resembles a lot to King Solomon. Not only that, I mean, Lord of the Rings, right? Who's the Lord of the Rings? Well, we know that's Saturn. Saturn evil, being the devil, being Satan, not the devil. That kind of stuff. Just anybody who did anything good gets demonized, right, by culture. And if it's not directly done by the priest, it'll be done by the culture. So, but I just thought it was I thought it was worth mentioning clearly that I was drawn to the word Psalms. Psal, Psalm. I never knew what that was. I never knew what it meant, but I was always like, man, it's a cool looking word. And why would someone put a P in front of Psalm if they didn't want you to know it was King Solomon? Why would it be like that? Or is it because Solomon was actually written with a P in front of it? Maybe it's not King Solomon either, which kind of is how you spell salmon almost in a way to speak, in a manner of speaking. So does that have something to do with it? I mean, Psalm, Salm. You can see the word Solomon in there, as give that A there. I know I write Solomon, Solomon, but you can do it Salamon if you wanted to. Solomon, you know what I mean? So it's very similar. Hold on one quick second. What's up, Owen?
What's the baby?
In the bath. What, boo? Yeah. Don't go in there. You're playing with dye and stuff like that. It's food coloring, so having fun. Go downstairs, clean up that living room, sweep, mop, do all that stuff. Yes, go for it. Anyway, sorry about that. The stepson that got in trouble there is cleaning up the house a little bit. It's part of his punishment. He's got the TV on, so it's not much of a punishment. But anyways, so now I'm gonna go into something a little different now. I have way more to say about King Solomon and all that. And, like attracts like doing shadow work right now, which is why I'm watching Jordan Peterson so much. And because of that, so I'm just getting comfortable because I'm a little tired. I normally don't do video. I normally do radio podcasts, but this is probably why, because I can lay down in my bed and talk to you guys without being seen. And truth be told, I'm actually blocking the screen. I'm not actually looking at myself right now. I got the notes thing up. Oh, yeah, I can't do this. All right. I think my girls are about to get out, so I might have to actually stop it here and then resume in a moment. So I'll be putting 2 videos on. But the next thing I want to talk about is the thing I was enlightened to that came to me. So, facing fear right now in my life. And the reason I say facing fears, because like I said, I'm doing the shadow work stuff. And to me, part of my shadow work is facing fears. It's always been. Any fear that I have that I shouldn't have. I should be fearless. I want to be fearless. That's kind of the goal. So, facing my fear right now, the biggest fear would be leaving my daughter. Working and contributing to this corrupt society, so to speak, would be the part of that fear. Half of it is wanting to stay home with my daughter. The other half is I don't really believe in the monetary system as it's been presented to me, and I don't want to be part of that system. At least when I was collecting EI, it was the money I paid into, so it's technically getting the money back I earned. Now I'm not doing that, and I'm going to be starting a job, and that was part of my fear. So I had to do a lot of reflection on this, and it's been stopping me from doing the episodes. I've been having trouble, I think, for the last 2 months now, producing this stuff, because I knew this was coming to a close, and that I had to make a choice, and I didn't know what that choice was. And truth be told, I wasn't asking for it every day, because there's different manifestations I had to do, but I was asking questions, and part of the problem was, it was not a problem, but I'm doing someone's birth chart at the same time, and I'm way past overdue for delivering on that. Thank God I'm not charging anybody for it, for fuck's sakes. But point is, I was using my meditation when I asked the questions for meditation to her chart, because for one, as I'm going through this hard time, I didn't want. I even told her this in a message yesterday. I didn't want to. Like attracts like. If I'm in a shitty fucking state of mind because I have to go back to work, but I don't want to. I have this internal conflict, huge, bubbling up inside me, building up inside of me. I can't do her chart accurately. I can't, because I'm going to have this condescending view of life, this anger inside, this internal conflict, basically, and especially when it comes to like Saturn or Pluto or Mars in one of her signs, which I wasn't gonna do Pluto, but whenever that happened, I'm gonna give her, definitely a really good version of the negativity, and maybe that's what she needs. You have to go downstairs and get a towel. I don't know what to tell you. They're all downstairs. Here. Wrap yourself up in this, unless you have one in your room that's better size, and grab 2 towels. Hurry up.
I gave mine to Cece.
Go. Look at you. You're supposed to get a bath to clean up, not be more full of stuff. All right, go, 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 go. Sorry about that. Oh, not on film. Go. She can follow you. It's fine. She has to go downstairs anyways. Sorry about that. Follow Di. Go downstairs and get a towel. Get warm, warm, warm. Leave the fan off. Sorry about that. I forget where I was going. No, I know where I was going. Okay, so I'm going to give her a very good negative perception of what the dangers of Saturn being in her sign are, for sure. And I might overstate it. And that part will be accurate. But I could also do that from a centered place and see both sides accurately and maybe not put more emphasis on one or scare the shit out of her. And the same thing, if I'm too happy and love and light over here, then I'm going to give her only positive aspects and leave out the negative and dangerous things. So I didn't want to do her chart in either one of those because I think I'm a pretty balanced person overall for the most part until recently. And I started getting back on the Max Egan stuff, which is nothing wrong with Max. But like attracts like. So when I started watching this stuff telling me about the issues in the world and how we need to be free, monetary system, promissory notes, blah, 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 blah. Which I put a Jordan Peterson episode on there too about, because he talks about promissory notes and trust is the best community, natural resource. Talks about Japan having no natural resources, but they have trust in their culture. And so everything works for them. And they do have the best business structure. Fucking Tokyo has so many people in there. I forget the number, but it's ridiculous, okay? It's like probably the same amount in my country in Canada, or maybe at least in a couple provinces. And, our smallest province is bigger than Tokyo. And yet Tokyo would have probably 10 times the amount of the smallest province in Canada. So anyways, point is, they have to build upwards. They're building on the fucking ocean, for God's sakes, or the rivers, or whatever it is. I know it leads into an ocean. I don't know if it's exactly the ocean where they're building. But anyways, they're skyscrapers. They're actually having to put stuff in the water and building foundations in the water and then above that. But anyways, point is, they have trust there. And what's on all the American money? Well, in God we trust. You know what I mean? A trust account, set up a trustee. All these words are used when talking about financial stuff. Trust. Trust is the best financial commodity. It is the best natural resource. And in there he talks about, well, it's a promissory note. And what's a promissory note? A promissory note is a promise. And what do you do when someone promises something to you? Well, you trust them to keep their end of the promise, their end of the deal, right? It's trust. It's a two-way thing, right? He gives you a promissory note and you give him trust, basically. And then once you give him that trust, he's free. He's not going to worry about it. He's not trying to deceive you, and he will eventually give you back the promissory note, basically. So then you hold on to that promissory note. Now, if you're holding on to that promissory note, does that mean you have been paid and you don't have any promises out? Because technically when you had your money, you gave that money to that guy, he owed you something. But yet in our society, you look at it and it's like, well, you're out that $20 you just gave to him, but he owes it back to you, right? So technically you didn't lose anything. And it's true, you didn't lose anything. You give him a promissory note. You give him a fucking promise note that you technically owe back. He's going to pay you so you can pay it back to somebody else. It's a stupid system is all I'm trying to say. So I didn't want to add to that by going back to work, okay? Because I think it doesn't make any sense. But then I'm listening to Peterson. I'm doing the shadow work. I'm realizing, where's my shadow? Well, it's in Scorpio. What's in Scorpio? Fucking Pluto. My God. Oh my God. You should see how many bad things are about that. Where is it? Well, that's my 6th house. What does the 6th house mean? Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? This is some bad fucking news, right? So, and then I start listening to Peterson, and he's talking about how 80, 85, sometimes 90% of the people that come to see him is male, and men are really needing this information. They really, really need this information. And going by society, again, you're damn right we need this information because men have a hard time in life. I'm not saying we have it harder than women, not one bit. The women got it fucking harder than men. From the minute they go to school, the minute they have to have babies, menopause at 40, you know, the pressure of having kids and all that. Trust me, I don't think women have it easy at all. I'm just saying, though, there's a reason that men are committing more suicide, that